Hello again. Welcome to another edition of Crop Life Retail Week. I'm here with Eric Sfiligoj, who I hardly recognize because we don't see each other very much right now. We're traveling all over the place. We had our big conference, PrecisionAg Innovation Series in St. Louis, which was held on Tuesday, and we had about 235 folks there. It was a fascinating discussion. About half the people are from a very high level of ag and also from outside of agriculture, and trying to figure out exactly what's going on with precision and data and where things are moving forward. We had a panel of 5 growers, and they shared a lot of thoughts about some of their frustrations and successes and failures with data. It was really good. One thing I thought was kind of interesting was the 5 growers that we had, and I don't know if it was just a microcosm of all growers or if it was just them in particular. But I had to have my PrecisionAg hat screwed on real tight as opposed to my Crop Life hat. But a lot of them, all 5 of them, really didn't have what I would call a solid relationship with their retailer, where they felt like the retailer was trustable from the standpoint of you guys are just interested in putting more pounds on the ground, and you need to run your business, and we're less interested in more of the business of the grower. And maybe it was just the event or the way the things that people were talking about. But it seemed a little odd to me that we had growers that were not really as engaged with their retailers as I thought. So I don't know if that's an opportunity for people or if that's or what it is. But I felt myself having to restrain myself from defending retailers just in being on the podium and not using the bully pulpit. But it was a little bit tough. But overall, there's a lot of interesting developments. We'll be writing about those as we move forward. But it was a good day. So what have you been hearing and working on while I'm gone?
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, actually, I spent some time last week in Peoria at the annual Illinois Fertilizer and Chemical Association meeting. And one of the topics of conversation at that meeting was the Des Moines Waterworks lawsuit, the continuing lawsuit against agricultural districts in the state of Iowa. One of the speakers at the meeting was Doug Gross, who was the legal counsel for the Iowa Agribusiness Association. And Doug kind of describes the situation as the perfect storm for ag. It sounds like the lawsuit would do several things, and one of the slides he showed is now being shown on the screen. And what would happen if the lawsuit is lost by agriculture is it would eliminate agriculture stormwater exemption. It would expand the decision being made in court so that other drainage districts around the country would also be impacted. It would also expand the land that's hydraulically connected to agricultural use to be falling under the Waters of the U.S. Act, and ultimately could lead to regulation for all chemical usage in water on farms in the future. Now, according to Doug, a lawsuit is tentatively scheduled to be heard on August 8th of this year, and if agriculture loses, Doug Gross suspects that will ultimately be appealed to not only the district court, but then will end up ultimately in the U.S. Supreme Court before a decision is handed down. So this could be a very long process, maybe the next year or 2 before anything is ultimately settled. But hearing everybody talk at that meeting, Paul, at IFCA in Peoria, it sounds like a pretty big mess right now, and the potential impact on growers and retailers could be very serious.
Wow. It's the water issue is getting more and more serious. I think at the data conference we heard a lot of discussion from both growers and from the manufacturers and the data companies about nitrogen stewardship and fertilizer stewardship overall, and how technology might be able to help with that and efforts toward greater stewardship. So yeah, it's an issue that it's on everyone's mind. Even at a technology conference, it was pretty much front and center for a lot of the day.
Well, and people who are interested, our viewers, in the March issue of Crop Life, which will be coming up here in a little bit, we're going to be focusing on the water issue with several stories looking at the various issues that are going across the U.S. So,
interesting. One other thing to mention, earlier this week, federal court denied the move by EPA to vacate the Enlist Duo herbicide label, so things will proceed apace with that. We had some informal chats, mostly off the record, with folks at Monsanto while we were in St. Louis, and a couple of folks said, you know, it's really good news. It's good news for Dow, but it's also very good news for agriculture. It's good news that this stuff is moving forward. You know, Monsanto is in its own kind of waiting game with Roundup Ready Xtend and China approval, which is just, you know, a waiting game with the government who will do what they want to do and not really tell you how they're going to do it or when they're going to do it. So don't have any clues as to when. I think that could happen, but it could happen tomorrow or it could happen in a month. So we're just waiting and seeing when we'll get that technology up. But we need these weed control technologies, and hopefully we can keep that moving, and hopefully China will cooperate. In any event, that's it for this edition of Retail Week. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Have a good day.